Welcome everybody to SAF1 Esports, and welcome to round 9 of our 4th season, and the very first time we're heading out there to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix racing circuit, the Corniche circuit as it is termed, at Jeddah, just outside Jeddah at least. Give you a quick view on our championship standings. Currently Madtrav has the clear lead on 260 points. We have just 1 second. I'll be with you again in a second. Sorry about this. We have Phantom in second on 174 points. Then a little bit further back on 146 is Don Rabico in third place. Quentin on 130. Neil 109 in fifth place. Mercedes lead the way with 294 points against Ferrari's 241. McLaren close behind 239 and Red Bull on 202. The official sponsors of our race today, as ever, are Quintessential Photo and Video Works, DR Developments and Rabico Holdings, and we thank them for enabling us to go racing today. We've got some drivers out on track already. And this is the first commentary I think I've done on this circuit so far. A circuit with many corners and none of them named. So we will either have to make up our own names or try to refer to them as best we can. And there's that very tricky section in the second sector into the third sector, sorry, that caught out drivers on track earlier in the year. We've got Phantom out there first of all, and just finishing off the Verstappen corner after his multiple incidences either on entry or exit through that final hairpin. And we get ourselves underway on our first flying lap with the Ferrari driver Phantom. Tight left-hander, picking difficult exit point, and then we have another tight left coming up into turn 4. Before the speed starts to build, sort of the opposite of a Maggotts and Beckett section as the speed builds on the way through these corners. A little light braking onto the right, and now a short sprint down to the banked turn. Let me get the turn correct. Turn 13. 14 is a bit of a nothing exit, but those walls loom ever close as we now go towards a slightly tighter open section, and then another long stretch of almost flat out and a purple sector of course for Phantom as he closes out that middle sector. Some interesting architecture I'd not noticed on the F1 coverage last year at that point at least. And now again another long flat out section closing off the Verstappen hairpin, and that is all the activity of the lap done for Phantom, and it wait to transpire just what kind of time we get to. It's a 1:28.469. Hello to Conrad, who's here supporting Sparks. Obviously found a new favourite driver in Sparks, did Conrad. And Lord Mahavir says turn 1 and 2 feels so much like Vietnam. It is very similar. It's almost like they've got similar designers in common. Josh, JR Designs, goes fastest on a 27.970, and Quentin on a 28.2 is just quickly pipped by Aimee. And out there as well is Vino on a lap, and we'll watch with him. Quentin just getting out the way, but perhaps a little lackadaisical in that sense. DRS open. You can see the incline of this corner. Not only is it banked, but it's also got an incline towards that stadium. Sparks appears to have put on intermediate tyres. I think that's probably a glitch. Hi to Ryan in the chat as well. Hoping to enjoy our coverage here tonight. DRS enabled again for Vino. He's got a Haas further down the order away from him, but not too close to cause an issue. You could see someone's already locked up into that corner. That final turn, what is it, 27 official turns at the Jeddah Grand Prix. 1:30.5 is his time. We'll go to his teammate Duckster, see what Duckster is up to. Surely Sparks isn't out there on intermediates. Let's have a quick check if we've just got a glitch. No, he is actually out there on intermediates. So, interesting. I think rumour I've heard so far is that it is going to be dry. You can see it's likely to be dry for quali, at least. Hi to Armin, who joins us, saying hello to everybody. Armin, who are you here to support? Ryan's here for Sparks as well. Yeah. So Duckster coming through. And the second sector, very easy to get in the way of someone else, so you definitely need to keep your eye on that track map. And the track map shape is so difficult to know whether a car is coming up behind you or going on the opposite side of the track. Duckster rides that curb nicely and just avoided an invalidation there. We'll see just how tight the invalidations are through that turn 24. It's the car down away from the apex slightly, as now we sprint to the line. Looks like that skyscraper is leaning in the background. He definitely ducked out of that time, didn't he? That's a very strange one. Wonder what Sparks is up to on these intermediate tyres. He's currently getting out of someone else's way, kindly. Madtrav is on an outlap, so we'll try and check in with our championship leader, of course. And Armin asks Comrade if he's coming back, and he's here. Armin is here for Tiago, he's a very active driver. Got 15 drivers, and that's very promising given well, Quintin wasn't anticipating a good attendance tonight, so we're doing pretty well out there so far. Neil putting the time together. I must check in with Madtrav though, our championship leader, as he's coming through the middle of the first sector. It's got a good rhythm, this track. It's just awkward to know exactly where you are at all times. Q1 with 15 people. Ryan, yeah, we will probably lose one or two from here. There is some jeopardy. I think it might just be the one. We've had this before where this has happened. So the whole setup is there for obviously for 20 drivers, but I think you do end up losing one or two from the list through Q1. Madtrav with a purple first sector, as you would expect. He's let everybody else do the sweeping, and there through that difficult corner we see him again just avoiding invalidation going into the turn 23-24 complex. Very late braking because of the open entry to this Verstappen hairpin. Comrade saying that Sparks is just setting a time. I think Madtrav, did he lift out at the end of there? He's definitely got a fastest time, but Sparks is potentially being tactical, although I do believe that you lose one in this situation. I'm sure I've seen it before, so we'll have to see how that works out at the end of this session. Just over 8 minutes to go before the checkered flag in this one. Zardi has invalidated his lap, so has Duckster. Not Shumi is live, although looking a little slow out of the corner there. I think he's just on a cooldown. Who else have we got? Neil is working the wheel, finishing off the lap in the Red Bull here, managing to get that Red Bull nice and straight and not hit the exit wall. And Simps joins us. Nice to see Simps. Yeah, he's slowing as well. Slightly better, 28.3 for Neil, right up there with his teammate, just 1 and a bit tenths away from his teammate. I think Tiago is on it as well, so we'll just catch the end of his lap, and we see Hamrick and Dom Rabico out for their next laps as well. First laps even. And then to turn 1. Should be a good overtaking opportunity if it weren't for that really tight entry to turn 2. Again, the car seeming a little slow out of there. 3 and 4. And the corners just come too thick and fast to really register this snaky section of the racetrack. I think he's going pretty slowly here. I think he's done his lap. So just taking it easy, keeping an eye on the track map, of course. Let's join Dom Rabico in the McLaren. He's decided to go out there on mediums, unlike anybody else. Interesting comment from Ryan saying that you could lose someone who crashes. Possibly. And Conrad will be returning as soon as possible once he's got his new wheel, I think that means. Dom Rabico then through Sector 1 safely. It's always a question of which of these corners do you take flat and which do you need to brake for. The braking markers are useful in that regard. You see Dom Rabico taking a wide run through turn 23, whereas everybody else has been flying over that inside apex curve. It doesn't seem to be an invalidation. Braking pretty much at the 50-meter board there for Dom Rabico, getting the car a little bit loose through the second third of the corner. Away then to the line for Dom Rabico. It's a 11th place, 129.921. And getting the laps together. What about Duxter now? He is just a slight invalidation. He won't thank me for joining him at that precise moment. It looks like Neil just warming up the car, warming up the tyres before going for another run maybe. Or is he actually live? I think he might be live on a lap here. Probably not after taking that line. That won't get any better. So let's see, Sparks on an outlap. He's put soft tyres on this time. Hamrick has retired from the session, which is not the first time we've seen that in Q1 for Hamrick. Usually got things to take care of and is happy to start from the back as long as he can get into the lobby, and then he's away. Sector 2 done for Sparks. Sorry, Sector 1 for Sparks, who's tracking across slightly on my screen. JR Designs, Zardi and Quentin all deciding that's enough. JR Design, also known as Josh Known or Josh Unknown or Reverse Senesi. So many names the man is known by. Simps cheering on his teammate here. Josh, why can't you be with us tonight, Simps? Why can't you be with your teammate? Hope it's not an illness situation. Apologies about Sparks' car tracking. It is a little bit difficult to watch, but I'm really keen to see what he can achieve. Most everybody else in the pits now with just under 4 minutes to go in the session. Almost impossible to watch Sparks. I would have to indicate here this is not down to Sparks' situation. This is the fact that Sparks is one of the few people in the UK racing in this session tonight. SAF1 clearly favouring people in South Africa on South African servers, and that hopefully explains the situation as to why Sparks and perhaps myself struggle occasionally, and especially Tim in commentary. If you're not familiar, if this is the first race you've watched with me, my name's Webbo. You can find me on all social avenues at WebboRed5, and Tim is usually here with me in the comms box, but we send our best wishes to him. He's not feeling too good today. That's right, Simps. I'd forgotten your TV was smashed. Smashing 2 goes Sparks through that particular sector, and obviously pushing hard. Certainly doesn't want to be starting right at the foot here of the order. Only one person can outdo him on the track. I think we've got some glitches here, unless Sparks is having a wheel issue, perhaps. Let's go and join someone in the pits. 2.5 minutes to go, unless all 4 of our remaining drivers follow the pattern and retire from the session, and saves us a few minutes. We'll wait and see on that one. Sparks still registering. That's everybody except Sparks is retired, so maybe Sparks will follow now the convention of everybody else. Here he goes. Has he noticed everybody else has decided to pit here? Some last minute driver instructions coming in to the drivers about where to overtake, where not to overtake, and so on. So I'll give you the benefit of what I have learned so far. So yeah, the boss telling everyone to be cautious with their overtakes and defending. Don Rabico expecting to die tonight. Asking again at the last minute if we can skip the race. There we go. I think Sparks has left the session. And there we go. Our standings, such as they are for the session. Madtrav taking the fastest time at 27.4. I do expect most people's times to improve over that. JR is second, half a second away from Madtrav. Aimee, Quintin, Neil, Phantom, Zardi, Duxter, Tiago, Not Shumi, Dom Rabico, Vino, Zander and Sparks all qualify. Hamrick, unfortunately, will be the one eliminated from this session, so we will go with 14 and lose 4 in the next Q2. Josh has been enthralling everybody in the chat with sock talk again. He's wearing his odd socks, special grip socks for his racing. Sparks, I think, is complaining about the connection issues he's got to the server, so is asking what's the point. And we start our next session. Still seems nice and dry. I haven't seen an update on weather, although I think I'm expecting dry weather. I'll just message everybody. Just to say, we might see some drivers, if we run late, we might see some drivers not able to complete the race, or perhaps not able to arrive for interview after the session. I believe there's some power cut issues, some scheduled power cuts occurring in South Africa today, so it might be that we end up unable to see our drivers in the chat. Hi to Rai, who joins us as well. Madtrav is first out there this time. He let everybody sweep the track the first time out, but now he's decided that Q2 is a good idea to go out first and get himself some track time as the sun starts to set. We've got a problem with Josh, apparently, who can't get into his car, and asking whether we've got a problem there with somebody joining the server late. It is possible. we will see. I'll keep you updated, of course. Madtrav beginning his next lap. Breaking down into turn 1. Perhaps a little bit too fast through the apex and lost the car slightly on the exit of turn 2. I wonder if he'll keep the lap alive. Doesn't care about picking up warnings or invalidations across turn 5 or 6 there. And like I say, now a long snaking run. DRS open for the second straight. We go into the hairpin in the left as we climb up what little gradient there is at this track, mostly at sea level. Can't quite make out the bright lights just yet. Throwing into the right-hander in the second sector here. Again, building the speed. How does he take this one? Just almost ignoring the entry there, and obviously has done his practice and knows his way around. Quite happy to go completely over that apex curve as we go down into the final corner. Absolutely on rails by the end. I think the tyres perhaps needed a little bit of work. He's just getting his eye in. He knows what his sector 2 times are like, and just wants to cross the line on a 33.8. We're hoping to get JR back with us in the session, because it would be an absolute shame if he can't do it. Madtrav always playing games with his strategy. He'll set that time, and then I expect he'll come in for mediums. Medium tyres are on Notshumi's car as Zardi gets a 28.941. Vino 30.3 will be near the back of the field. Notsumi 29.1 on those medium tyres. Let's see what everyone else can finish off. A puncture on Imi's car. We have a puncture, a double puncture that has the hallmarks of a clatter with the wall. So he'll have to limp around, and he's right at the end of the track, so it won't cost him too much in the way of time. Phantom has invalidated. Tiago is about to cross the line and goes up to P4 as Zander in the Mercedes. Madtrav's teammate at 28.7 is a good safe first banker time in there. Phantom, as we say, won't be going any further. Josh has exited and rejoined, and looks to be back with us. Just warming the car up. Be keen to see what kind of pace he's got on this outlap. Burning off fuel, it seems, right now. So looking for his braking zone into turn 1. And an immediate invalidation. It's not his session, this one, JR. He's needing to get things together a little bit more. It's not working out right now. Neil is about to start his next lap. Great, Madtrav gives me a fully dry weather update for quali and the race. So we should get nice, fair racing for everybody. Neil is still warming up that car, but Quentin has definitely started his lap. Across the apex with confidence goes Quentin. Nice pull into the apex there. Little straight before late braking. I mean, that looked like about 35 meters before he braked for turn 13, a halfway point on the track. Purple middle, of course, for himself only at this stage. Quentin staying within strict track limits there, whereas other drivers, particularly Madtrav, completely abused that that entry curb. Again, late on the brakes into the final corner, and then it's away. Up to the line then, a 27.755 is the new fastest time for Quentin. His teammate Neil is on a lap right now, halfway round as he is. Difficult to pick all the right braking points here. Bet next season they will change all the advertising hoardings as well, and you have to re-familiarise yourself with where you are on the track. This is the DHL bit this year, the very final few turns of the circuit. And away then to the line for Neil. What's this time going to be with just under 6 minutes to go from the final session? 27.530 is your new fastest time out there. Zardi on a time from 5th. We haven't seen Madtrav. Madtrav has now come out for his on his medium tyre run. Might be worth having a look at what Madtrav is up to. Definitely is worth a look. Hi to Mango in the chat. He says can't wait for next season. Never mind next season, enjoy this season. We're only in round 9 so far. Seemingly very early on the brakes compared to what we saw with Quentin. That's not to say either is right or wrong, and clearly not super confident in the medium tyres just yet for Madtrav. Bringing them up to temperature. Now we're on the attack, I'm sure. But there is a little bit of traffic ahead. He's going to be very hopeful that that is Duckster on an outlap, and it was. Mango saying he's psyched for the new game. Wow, yeah, definitely. Just out of interest in the chat, who's going to be buying GT7? Because that's the next thing that I'm building the Fever for. I'd love to do some more GT commentary. Nice line for Madtrav, late apex there into turn 13. And into over the curbs nicely. One and a half seconds under his fastest time. And a great line through. Really fast sector. It's all about now closing out the lap, closing out that final corner. Hooks the left hand wall more than we see most drivers for a straight braking to the outside. Straightens up this final corner and sprinting to the line. Xander has retired from the session, his teammate, and decided that 4th place should be safe. Madtrav P3 on medium tyres is pretty impressive. Not far from his best time on soft tyres as well. And let's see, I think Aimee seems to be on a slow one, is he? He's about to start his proper lap, having done a charge run, maybe. Simps is up for GT7. Excellent stuff. We also want to get some rallycross going in Dirt 2.0 as well, if you're interested. Love to see some rallycross racing. Phantom then to the line, a 28.0 on P4 in the Ferrari. Excellent stuff. So still to set a time in this Q2, Sparks, JR and Dom Rabico. Dom Rabico starts his time now, starting his lap now in the McLaren. Pretty good, considering Don Rabico was very down on this track, begging for us to skip it. He's doing okay. Neil has the fastest time from Quentin, then our championship leader Madtrav, P3, Phantom, Aimee and Xander, your top 6. Dom Rabico will definitely want to get in the mix and into the top 10 here. He's gone for soft tyres. He's clearly got full intention. Nice line through the final sector. Just one car up ahead. Just one corner to go. There's a yellow flag down there into the sector 3 as people are coming in the pits. Nothing to worry Don Rabico though. Either the track's not straight or that skyscraper is definitely on the skew. 29.3 for Don Rabico is P11, so trouble for Don. I'm not sure he will get away with that one. Trying to wait for the sector time to disappear. So there we go, 1 minute to go, 1 minute to go, and I don't think Don's going to improve. P11 though, not a bad place to start. Thiago is slowing, so yet to get an indication on that one. Zardi closing out the lap from P8. And across the line then, a 28.2 is good enough for P5 in this session, but should be safe out there. What about Thiago? He's definitely slowing. I don't think he's going to get on with this. JR, I'm not sure is going to finish the lap in time, is he? Looks like it's too late, unless there's a timing glitch for him, because he's in no hurry to get to the line. Sparks has not gone for a lap at all. I don't know if Sparks has decided to exit altogether. Just waiting for a time update. The checker flag has gone, so he will not finish this one. What about Duxter? Going a lot quicker through the first sector. Half a second faster than he's been before as he tries to save turn 13. A little bit wrong on the angle, a little bit over speed, but the banking pulled him back down towards the apex. Dom Rabico, that's enough for him. So some big guys, big quick drivers in the elimination zone for sure. Don Rabico, Vino, that's too much curb for Duxter, and a little bit of rubbing on the wall as well. JR and Sparks will not take part in our Q3, unfortunately. And Simps confirming that Josh, after exiting and rejoining the session, is suffering a timing glitch. I don't know if this lap will count, but he's going to give it everything. Of course, got to drive with a certain degree of margin because he's got no ability to rely on a banker lap. Beautiful line through there, not cheating and not leaving much in the way of margin either. JR with a tucked in view on the left hand side of the track, similar to what we saw with Madtrav, using the curb to help break the car down into the corner. Missed the apex in a big way, but will he get to the end of the session with a complete lap, and will it register up to P5? That's how you do it in style from Josh, or JR, apologies. And I think that will be the final lap we will see from Josh and from anybody as we close out the session. Hopefully JR will just retire now, and we won't have to wait for his session to end after our session has ended. But I'm sure we'll all appreciate a breather. There we go. And JR retires from the session. Bear with me, everybody. I will be back very shortly, just after I've gone through the standings. So Neil, with the fastest time in Q2, 27.5, but I think we've got some improvement to come from everybody. I think we might even see a 26 tonight. Neil in P1, Quentin P2, Red Bull front row as things stand, but Madtrav will start the race on medium tyres, Phantom on softs, JR, Zardi, Imi on no tyres at all apparently, Xander in 8th, and then 2 medium runners, Not Shumi and Duxter, 9th and 10th. Out of the session though, Tiago, Don Rabico, Vino and Sparks. And back with Webbo into the start of this Q3 session. I think it's going to be, is it Xander? No, it's Madtrav, the first one out there. And obviously everybody on soft tyres now. Hopefully that intermission has helped solve any issues we might be having with drivers out of sync with each other. Madtrav then starts his flying lap. And let's see what our championship leader and generally speaking fastest guy in SAF1 can make of this first attempt. We know he doesn't always go for a safe banker with his first lap. That was nothing safe about that sector. Oh, was that a slight rub on the wall as well? Right on the ragged edge, Madtrav. An absolute joy to watch. And just to prove what I was saying about ragged edge, there he was, out of action in this one. In front of him just behind him on track, the next one attacking the lap is Duxter. We'll stay with him as long as he stays valid. And through difficult sector now, it's the fast snake in the second part of the lap under the hotel, straight across that apex. We see people now that apex doesn't have quite the same bump that we saw on track last F1 season, does it? Okay, it was pitching cars into the barrier, so definitely a little bit of an improvement for Codemasters to make, as Duckster finishes off his fast lap. Should get the fastest lap so far, a 28.3. Who else is behind him on track? It's one of the red cars. It's Phantom, who didn't make anything of that first lap either. So Phantom and Madtrav unable to put a lap together on the first attempt. Quintin goes fastest on a 27.4. And I think his teammate has only just started his lap. What about, is that Aimee or Zardi finishing up? Zardi coming close to the end of the lap here. So Quintin, JR goes at 28.199 on soft tyres. Big gap at the front there to get onto the front row at the moment. Not Shumi goes straight into that gap at 28.0, and Zardi at 28.198, 1,000th of a second quicker than JR. Let's ride with, I think, Neil. Neil is slightly ahead on track, but Aimee got himself a purple first sector. And Neil appears to be going slowly, so we'll rejoin with Aimee. I think Neil has had enough of that one. Didn't like that lap. Phantom's in the pits. Madtrav is still out, but I think probably on his way into the pits. Obviously a shorter session, time for only really 3 laps at a real rush to get there. Down into the final corner and away towards the line then for Aimee. I've not seen anybody able to really take advantage of any tow. Aimee on a 27.9 goes just second fastest. It's super tight between second and fifth at the moment out there, and we're seeing the drivers coming into the pits. So I would have thought one of the first ones out for their next one will be Phantom and Madtrav. So Quintin with the fastest time from Aimee, not Shumi, Zardi and JR. I do think this is going to change in a big way though, pretty soon. So just under 6 minutes to go on the session. Duckster has got the car turned around quicker than anybody and will be the first one out on another attempt, I would have thought. Here comes Phantom as well. So will Phantom and Madtrav stagger this a little bit, or will Madtrav pile all the pressure on himself for one single attempt? Time will tell. I'll keep an eye on when Madtrav decides to come out. Duckster still on that outlap in the Alpine. I think most of the drivers are possibly waiting to do their final lap and just do 2 runs. But of course, if you ruined your first run, you might want to be getting out quickly like Phantom is doing. JR with the 6th fastest time so far. Again, nice banker to build on. And several drivers coming out, including Madtrav out the pits, and Zardi as well. So we've got our targets to be watching right now. Neil appears to be still going around and has not come into the pits. Quite short on the strategy there. But Duckster will be the first one on the second runs. Unless Neil has disconnected and his AI is managing his session. Duxter then grateful to Quentin for getting out the way. Let's see what Duxter's first sector time looks like, and Phantom behind him will join him shortly. So Duxter much slower. It won't improve on this lap for Duxter. What about Phantom? 30.8 staying valid. That's the main target right now, as Madtrav hasn't yet started his next lap, but will do shortly. And we'll stay with Phantom. Close to the wall on the right hand side at the Pirelli section. See his sector, it's a purple sector, it's 58.3. What about Madtrav? How's that lap looking so far? It's going to be a little while before we get an update on the lap. Let's see if he can survive the snake section, as he didn't last time. Looking slightly less ragged than before, so looking to survive this one as Phantom finishes off his lap. And we'll join Madtrav shortly. A 28.0 for Phantom, leaving a small margin there to the rest of the field. But it's all about where Madtrav can put himself. Remember, he's on those medium tyres for the race. He's in a great place. He told us last week he was kind of looking forward to this race a little bit, which I'm sure made everybody's heart sink. Purple middle for Madtrav. No care about the curb on the inside. Possible slight hesitation or glitch on the audio on the way out. But this one looking hot from Madtrav. As he gets down at I don't know why we get a DRS beep at that point. No, that's the detection, but it's strange that we get a DRS beep there. 26.9. We have had a 26 time, and Madtrav pole position immediately out there, quick. Quentin won't improve on this lap, at least. Hopefully for him, he has saved the lap early enough to get around. Imee is on a new lap now and navigating that first sector. Gets the car nicely in. And is a quarter of a second faster than he's been before. Enough to see him up onto P3 on the clean side of the track, if he can make that count. But of course, everybody behind him on track has the opportunity as well. Is that a tiny rub on the wall? Let's check out JR, who is faster but is invalidated. So it's all about whether these guys can get through this lap. No, another invalidation. I don't think there's time for JR to finish off the lap, is there? And start another one. He'll give it a go. Duxter down in 9th. I'm just trying to see if anybody has the option here to try and fight. Possibly Neil has a chance. He's definitely started his next lap off kilter from everybody else. One of the last eligible laps to start now, as we see whether JR can get round in 16 seconds. I think he will. Whether he decides to pit or not, and he does pit, so it's just Neil. I think Neil's the only one who can take advantage of this open track in front of him. Fresh tyres. I think not Schumi might be on a lap at the moment. I don't think Phantom is. I think we saw him invalidate. So Neil, with it all to do, would love to get ahead of his teammate. Neil just waiting now, nearly 2 tenths faster, still needs a bit more time. Ignoring the corner, really, the right hand corner. And we go down to the DHL section to finish the lap off. One more major braking zone to get right. How late does he dare to brake? He's got good turn in, that should give him a good exit. Slight correction on the exit, slightly greedy on the throttle, but Neil heading for the line, and it's P2 at 27.4 and gets us to a respectable half a second gap to Madtrav on pole position. But Red Bull 2-3 followed by Aimi in the Alfa Romeo, Phantom in the Ferrari, not Schumi for Aston Martin, Zardi on in his Alfa Romeo as well. JR got an 8th place, but look to JR to be gaining places in the early stage of the race. Duxter in 9th and Zander in 10th. But of course, remember from Q2 that Matrav will start this race on medium tyres and have a great Josh said he was half a second up and he invalidated, so very frustrating for him, but nonetheless good performance from nearly everybody in that session. And we'll be underway for a race for you very shortly. So, confirmation of your Q3 time and the usual suspect at the top. It's Matrav, P1, then Neil and Quentin make it a Red Bull 2-3. Aimi Alonso on P4 in the Alfa Romeo, followed by our Italian Phantom, not Schumi in 6th, Zardi in 7th, the Welshman Josh, JR in 8th, and then Duxter and Zander make out that top 10. We had a 1.4 second field spread across the top 10. Make that a 1 second field spread apart from Matrav, who is kind of in the next league above, really, isn't he? Frankly, at the moment. But don't hate the player for being good. That we've got what looks to be, with the overlay that we had on the screen there, it looked like there was a yacht floating in midair as the seascape bled into the skyline. But we will be underway for you very shortly for a 50% race around Jeddah. I wonder how many people will survive. Let me know what you think. Out of our 15 starters, how many will actually reach the end of this race? The street circuit tends to be high attrition rate anyway at the best of times, but our drivers not particularly familiar with this one, and several drivers actively hating the track in practice. I want to thank you for joining us for the coverage again, and a special thank you to our sponsors, who are Quintessential Photo and Video Works, DR Developments and Arabico Holdings, and without whom we would not be able to go racing here tonight. A reminder to follow us on socials, to subscribe to the channel, and to like the video as well, please, before we get underway with our race. Check on the tyre selection. Obviously not Schumi, Duxter and Matrav automatically on mediums. Everybody else on softs, but Tiago and Dom Rabico have chosen mediums. I'm interested to see what Vino, Sparks and Hamrick do on those softs, staying on the lead strategy. So interesting choice there. A long lap, so only 25 laps overall for you tonight. Hamrick will have been waiting a long time between action to get himself going. There's no real way of getting any kind of rhythm for the race either. You can't exit and go practice. You just have to sit there and enjoy the coverage, try and pick up any tips that you can from drivers around. Looks like Sparks will, I think he's under AI. I think he's decided not to race with us. I hope that's not the case, but I think it might be. So who will put up the nearest challenge tonight to Matrav? Will anybody? And will Matrav be able to hold his focus out there at the front? Will he even get away comfortably at the front? We've seen before, we've had an interesting one on our hands sometimes when he doesn't quite get away from the start very well. Remember, Kota was a fine example of that, but he still recovered to win in dominant fashion. A little bit of a disqualification there as we approach the final corner for a couple of drivers. Xander and Thiago will start on compromised tyre warm-up. Just waiting now for the formation lap to finish. I hope everybody takes it very, very carefully into the first 2 corners at least. Make that maybe the first 4 or 5, because those walls are tight and close and plenty of incidents will be expected around the track. Very difficult for everybody. I'm glad I'm in the commentary box tonight and not holding the steering wheel. Best seat in the house, of course, for us here. Just hoping to get you a good angle for the start. There we go. We've got 5 lights on and they're out immediately, and we're away with Madtrav, Neil and Quentin getting away nicely. Quentin on the inside, but no, Madtrav losing out to Neil, who had a bit of a monster start there as Quentin and Madtrav navigate the first corner very, very gingerly. Now they'll go side by side through the next sector. It looks like we've got single file traffic till nearly the end of the grid order, but it is Neil who took the lead. Quentin staying with Madtrav here. Those medium tyres, I think, really holding Madtrav back at the start, but to just lose 1 place is not the end of the world. People going all over the runoff areas on the track in the background. Looks like Hamrick losing out and slowing at the moment, but still there at the back of the grid. But up at the sharp end, Neil is absolutely dropping the hammer here and trying to get away from Madtrav. Perhaps overdoing it slightly, but he knows that Madtrav will only get quicker as those medium tyres start to warm up. Quentin half a second back, could really do the favours for his teammate by starting to slow down and attack Madtrav. Hamrick has been lost from the session after 1.2 sectors of a lap. Has all he's managed tonight, unfortunately, and that's really frustrating for him. Here they come down into the final corner then for the first time, and Madtrav is already hassling Neil, and he will get a good long tow as they go down the long start-finish straight, almost straight. And Neil with the fastest lap. A little bit of weaving, just trying to discourage Madtrav from having a speculative go. And they go 1, 2, 3. Neil, Madtrav, Quentin, Jaime Alonso and Phantom next up. Then JR up to 6th already. So those soft tyres working well. Definitely it was a story of soft tyres being the way to go off the line for our drivers. Hamrick completely leaving the session, unfortunately, as Thiago gets past Xander further back, but we stay focused on the front here as Quentin gets within 3/10 of Madtrav, and there's lots of opportunity to slipstream even through the fast snake sections of the track. Riding it out wide against the Pirelli marker boards. Definitely Quentin with a good run here will be able to start copying Madtrav's angles through that right-hander. We go down then towards the DHL end of the lap. Madtrav closing in on the back of Neil. Neil will be pleased that there's no DRS until the next straight after this one, but they're getting close. The top 3 now starting to pull away. They've got outside of the DRS zone to Jaime, who has Phantom close behind. DRS will be enabled now, and but they can't use it until the next zone. So waiting to see if there are any movements from the drivers down into turn 1. Not seeing anything dramatic. Vino's close to Dom Rabico, who's had a brilliant start up to P10. Let's have a quick check on the positional changes. Obviously we know about Madtrav, we know about Josh and Neil that have moved up Nobody having too dramatic a start apart from maybe Xander dropping down to 4th and is now in the pits for a very much plan B pit stop. But we will now get the DRS train beginning at the top of the order. Neil defending from Madtrav and Quentin, and you can see Madtrav already making ground before it's even been re-enabled. 3 DRS zones on the track here, just after the end of the first sector, around the number 3 on your track map, and of course away out of the final corner and down the long start-finish straight. Madtrav is close enough to start thinking about having a go here. Brilliant camera angle as he moves around in the mirrors. Neil was having none of that, but less than 2/10 is the gap for Madtrav. He has the first opportunity here to use the DRS, and what kind of overspeed will he get? Neil says you having the outside, you're not having the inside, but I think Madtrav will get it, but Neil defends down the inside, late braking, and they share the track on the way through turn 2. That was fantastic driving from our drivers there. Brilliant stuff as Neil tries to hang on. Quentin might get both of them here as he tries to take advantage of a slow Madtrav through the sector. They go down into turn 13. And working the wheel very well. Madtrav has hit the wall. Madtrav, is that a puncture on the back of Madtrav's car? Sweeps into the side barrier, and Madtrav with a very dramatic exit from this one. I don't know if he'll be able to restart this race, but a massive puncture. Big for the championship, big for our champion elect, no less as well. And Madtrav with a huge problem, and he can't get the car back facing the right way. That was a bit cheeky from him, but you can understand why he would do such a thing. Now he's got a long trip, and we could have a very entertaining race on our hands if he can get himself back to the order. But what's happened to Quentin, who drops behind 2 cars? Quentin down. I wonder if he picked up damage as well. Did they both make contact? As Quentin will go towards, I think he's shaping here to come into the pits. He is at the end of lap 3. Now is that an indication that the soft tyres were going, or just a problem? I'll have to look at a replay later to see if the problem with Quentin was tied to running into Madtrav's error. But Madtrav clearly with a puncture, and he's retired. He's retired from the session. Madtrav out of the session, and he's also stranded on track. So we may end up with a safety car. There's still about half the track to go. No, they won't go any further. We won't end up with Bernd Mailander joining us to compromise people's strategy. Neil with a great start and has capitalised so far here on Madtrav's problem. You can see the tyre markings on the track from Madtrav's long journey round to try and get himself back to the pits, but he clearly had a problem and left himself stranded, exited the session. No win for Madtrav today, and Neil will be enjoying that, I suppose, for his own championship sake, but potentially feeling a little bit of extra pressure as now Aimi starts to close on the back of Neil, who is suggesting maybe he's headed to the pits. Is he? No, he's just moving to the inside, and Aimi gets past under DRS conditions for the lead with the fastest lap at the same time. Aimi then with the lead of the race, somewhat unexpectedly at this point, but has clearly looked after those soft tyres well. I wonder what type of mood Neil is in at the moment. He's closing with the DRS, and they go into turn 13, halfway around the track. And they build the speed now This is the Pirelli section. I think Roy is somewhat shocked in the chat. And yeah, Armin says, did not expect that from Madtrav. No, and I don't imagine Madtrav was expecting it either. Neil with the DRS open. He's got no helmet on. Maybe that helped him get away at the start. And down the inside then, comfortably under DRS conditions, into the final corner. Neil resumes the lead, but Aimee and Phantom, interesting how these guys suddenly picked up towards the front now that Madtrav is no longer part of this race. Phantom looking to capitalise from, I think, second in the championship at the moment. Aimee retakes the lead, and he and Neil swapping positions now. It's going very well. So lap 7, Aimee leads from Neil, Phantom and Zardi. Duckster in 5th on the medium tyres, the highest medium tyre placed driver now that Madtrav is out. Quentin has put on hard tyres. Presumably plan B was a one-stop fixing some damage or a possible slow puncture. Roy says that Madtrav shouldn't have quit, but with the great lead in the championship, he felt that wasn't worth giving us some entertainment. Yes, indeed. We were talking last week that Madtrav White might exit this one, and we'd be starting to talk about actually mathematics to win the championship. That might be changing right now. It's not over until it's over, of course. Phantom starting to close on Neil, but they've both got DRS, so it's not going to be easy for Phantom here unless one of the two drivers in front makes a mistake or pits ahead. Is that Aimee faking a pit entry? Possibly. Phantom with trying to do this all on ERS, but Neil sees him coming and decides to use the middle of the track, as is his right, as the lead car. I hope to hear from Madtrav if we can. I'll check the driver chat as well, see if he checks in. He's actually saying where's the space to Neil, so saying no space given as they were battling, so presumably blaming Neil for that one. I'll have to watch back and check. So I'm being asked about the championship standings right now. I don't want to cut away, but it is Phantom in second on 174, Don Rabico on 146, but Madtrav has 260 points and will finish the race, of course, today with 260 points. So Madtrav is nearly 100 behind, but sorry, Phantom is nearly 100 behind Madtrav, but will of course be able to capitalise today. 7 laps on the soft tyres for the front 4 drivers. This is the closest triplicate of cars on the circuit for you. Neil going to the inside. He likes this move. Another good one from Neil. Takes another place. And will this be pit stop time for anybody in the top 3? It will not. So we're not seeing huge tyre deg here from the drivers at this stage. Bit of a voyage into the unknown for me. Oh, it's Aimee. Aimee has got a problem going into turn 1. Was that a clash between the two leaders, or was that a mistake from Aimee? He's picked up a penalty as well. So does that mean that it was an error or a slight corner cutting, late braking issue? But he's slipping back here, 2.5 seconds. I wonder if he's picked up damage. We'll try and watch from a trackside camera if we can. His teammate gets past. Zardi gets past the car. I can't see any damage. No damage to the front wing, so does that mean he's got rear wing damage, I wonder? Or floor damage? Maybe the tyres have decided to let go on him. I can't see a puncture in an obvious manner. But he's clearly slow, because now Duckster is the next one to get past him, and there's not using any DRS or anything. Duckster with better grip on the medium tyres and moving forwards. Only 4 seconds off the back of the third place driver Zardi right now. Sorry, nearly 5 seconds off the lead pair out there, and Phantom and Neil will now try to get away from the field. Neil pulls to the inside. Is that to say I'm coming in the pits? Yes, it is. So Phantom takes that hint and decides to stay on out there. We know Phantom hasn't done as much fighting in the race as Neil, who was dicing it with Quentin and with Madtrav more notably. So Neil putting on medium tyres and hoping to split this race on the end of lap 9, sorry, and see another 16 out on the medium tyres as the drivers start moving forward. Neil and Aimee are reacting well, but it looks like Zardi out of the race. There he goes, another driver with an issue, and yes, yet another retirement. Now we have our first safety car of the race, and that will presumably favour Phantom, possibly if the deltas stay the same, but it's got to be advantage Neil, you would think, who made his stop most recently, as well as Josh there, but Josh is a long way back in the order. Of course, he'll be able to catch all of that back up again and has already made his pit stop. So anybody pitting shortly, it would be great timing for Phantom, who can make a cheap pit stop. So it could be game on for Phantom, a late surge in this championship. So I do hope you're enjoying the coverage tonight. If you are, make sure you give us a like on the video. Currently got 14 people watching and only 4 likes, so let's try and improve that ratio, shall we? I had hastened to use the R word on a stream. Phantom comes into the pits then. Will everybody decide to do the same thing? Of course, the medium runners will have to go onto hards if they want to one-stop this to the end. We've got Tiago on his way into the pits. Dom Rabico likewise. Neil, I'm sure, won't bother, and will hope to run the delta to the absolute max and try and get back on terms with Phantom, who's already on his way out the pits. So it's working out for Phantom. Phantom resumes the lead of the race, well, gets the lead of the race, I should say, after that pit stop, and the safety car is in operation. Neil, of course, will find out now. Duckster is on soft tyres to the end. That will be a bit of a struggle, but of course a couple of laps under the safety car will definitely help. A severe collision between Dom Rabico and Aimee, that's usually they end up with being given those penalties the wrong way round. Dom Rabico may have been hit from behind by Aimee. We'll have a see after the effect. Phantom, Neil, Duckster, Tiago, Don Rabico with a 5-second penalty, which he may appeal under the stewards post-race. Then Aimee, Quentin, JR, Vino and Sparks, but Sparks is running with the AI at the moment. So really just 9 human drivers left in this race, which isn't too bad given it's Jeddah, but I'd rather not see any more exits from the race if we can help it. I'll have a quick look at the race director, shall we? See what kind of warnings he's on. So Phantom, no warnings. Neil, 1. Duckster, 2. So on the cusp of a penalty, Duckster. And Tiago, just the 1 penalty, so 1 warning so far. Dom Rabico, no warnings other than what he's been given, but Quentin on 2. And JR on a single warning at this stage of the race. So very interesting. See how the guys are going to have to battle. See this race out. Of course, everyone will have the second half of the race. They'll restart with full batteries, and the race could come to the soft runners, the current soft runners who started on mediums, if the oh wow, Duckster coming in, having put on the tyres for 1 lap. Duckster will come in and now give up that opportunity to use the soft tyres to their full extent. Duckster fancies being at the back on mediums rather than having to pit again. So the only driver making that quick medium soft medium switch. Everybody else kind of banking on another safety car, you feel. Otherwise, they will have a difficult night, a difficult end of this race, trying to finish off the race on the soft tyres. Of course, Duxter pitting now is going to help them, but he's almost caught the back of the field already. So we should be underway at the end of lap 12 here for a restart. So round the halfway point of the track as we wait for, well, it's not really the halfway point, is it? It's the 1/3 point on the track, the turn 13. We wait to see what the safety car is going to do for us. No further word from Madtrav out there. Interesting helmet design on Thiago's car. And the Ferrari kind of looked like cheese from my my eyesight there for a second. Yeah, it does look a little cheese or spongish, maybe. So we should hopefully see the safety car in. Have the lights gone out? No, they haven't yet. Hopefully they will. Come on, Bernd. Time to come in. Oh, if we hit the minimum point, oh, we go for another one, another penalty, another safety car lap, unfortunately. So it will split the race in half, and the drivers will now try and get these soft tyres. Of course, that's going to help the soft runners. And Duxter might regret swapping those tyres over now, but he should be able to push to the end of the race. He's on the freshest tyres in the race, as a little bit of place swapping is going on. Phantom will lead us away from Neil and Thiago. Of course, Neil, I'm sure, fancies a win out here today, as I'm sure does everybody, but Neil has been there or thereabouts the whole evening so far. Cloudy but dry night in Saudi. They'll have to update that particular skyscraper. It's obviously under construction, we just saw. And now the trackside lights really dominating as the night sky draws in. A really attractive design of race circuit and surroundings, of course, here. Dom Rabico and Thiago have moved up 8 places from their start. We will see the end of the safety car, thank goodness, and Vino up 6. So Thiago and Dom Rabico, whoever wins out of those two, will be a strong favourite for driver of the day. Of course, everybody pitted now to the end of the race. Soft tyres for Thiago and Dom Rabico. They could have a good launch away from the restart here. We're about to go green. Might be good to watch on board. Thiago needs to close that gap a little bit, but they haven't got around the final corner yet. Phantom may decide to go for it at the apex, but he'll be wise not to run into the safety car. No, Phantom is going to make them wait. I wonder if he and Thiago are in a chat together. That would be useful, wouldn't it, if he said, I'm going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was close. That was close. It almost looked like 2 launches there. It looks like the front three will be okay, will survive this restart. Further back though, a launch up the inside, comes the Alpine, and around goes the Alfa Romeo of Jaime Alonso in the middle of all of that fighting. Vino making places, JR on the defensive, Vino going down the inside. That gap was only ever going to close, and they managed to survive on the way out. Vino will have his teammate right behind him and probably do well to let him go here, as Thiago on the soft tyres chasing down the front two, finding himself in a great position to take on this final half of our Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Away we go then. This is the restart lap. No DRS for anybody. JR looking very aggressive on the back of Quentin, getting right in the slipstream. There's very little room to manoeuvre at this section of the track, but if he can stay with him and avoid a penalty warning, he'll be in a good place to start the next start-finish line hunt of the Red Bull. Big lockup from the Ferrari of Thiago as he tries to get the car into the final corner. Needs to tread carefully on these tyres, and they won't get DRS just yet either, so we'll have some slipstreaming to contend with. Again, JR just dropping back a little bit under top speed. It looks like he's got more downforce here than Quentin and Vino around him, and Neil trying to stay here with Phantom and wait for the DRS. Difficult to make a pass work. So great battles up and down the field. You see Jaime managed to recover after that spin in turn 1. Between turn 1 and turn 2. I didn't see if there was any fault to be apportioned. Thiago just half a second back now from Neil. Again, these soft tyres, they say 3 laps, but they're really only 1 lap of age so far, and should now be able to get to the end quite comfortably, splitting the race in half as they have done. So we should get DRS shortly, but for the time being we will slipstream the top 7 all within a second of each other, which is great to see. There we go, DRS enabled for the next opportunity, which will be the short straight before turn 13, around that end of the first sector line. So it's about surviving this S section for the first sector. Such a fast circuit. I wouldn't be surprised if the driver's eyes are on stalks. They're not blinking very often on this track. Be incredibly tired by the end of it. We've heard Madtrav talk about how hot and bothered he can get just leading at the front of the race. So DRS is enabled. It was in use down that stretch, but not useful enough for anybody at this stage. Top 6, sorry, all within DRS range of each other, but will form a long DRS train. Neil will have the clearest advantage on the track, being the car with a non-DRS driver in front of him, the first of those. Neil then half a second back as they go into the final corner. Wasn't close enough for his typical move. He likes to run. DRS open for Neil, indicating he'd quite like the inside lane, thank you, but not close enough. JR with the new fastest lap in P6 at the moment. Thankfully doesn't appear to be any clear issues with connection during the race. Seem to be beleaguering us in qualifying, but in terms of the race we seem blissfully in line with each other, which is good to see. Third of a second is the gap for Neil. Will he be close enough to have a go here into turn 13? You could go 2 cars wide into 13, and he thought about it. Thought about running the long high line, but it's a bit of a low percentage move, and he really wants this win to take, I think, what would be his first win of the season. Please correct me if I'm wrong and you know better in the chat, but I think that's the case. 9 drivers remain in our race, because we're ignoring that Aston Martin at the tail of the field, who is on AI. Oh, here comes Thiago then with DRS on Neil. Oh, Phantom slowing, and is this tactical? That looked tactical. That had all hallmarks of a tactical interchange there between the drivers. Phantom fancying the DRS here from Neil, but will he be too far back? No, he's got a good run and retakes the lead as it gets very busy, and looks like Thiago having an issue, doing a little power spin. Style points are plenty, but lost part of the car there, so we'll have some damage. Let's rejoin the lead of the race. Sorry to see that issue there for Thiago. He drops out of the fray, and Dom Rabico needs to catch this group back up again if he wants to stay in contention for the lead. Neil is 3/10 back. We have got 7 laps remaining for you, and I think this one's going to be a showstopper at the end. Who is betting on whom in the live chat out of the top 3 to take the win tonight? Remember, Dom Rabico absolutely hates this circuit, and he finds himself in 3rd place, but needing to be careful on those tyres. 3/10 of a second separating Phantom and Neil, and Neil will be wise to Phantom's tactics on the last time round as they get DRS down into the final corner. Will Phantom slow again for the detection line? Oh, that was a bit naughty driving from Phantom, closing off the braking zone of Neil, and you do need to leave the space. Neil has DRS, goes for the lead once again, and a comfortable pass under DRS that he well earned on lap 19. Simp says Thiago got hit from behind. Armin says the same. Thank you for the info. I thought that was fairly inevitable as everyone was condensing into that turn 1. But it is a very, very difficult corner. And a safety car will be back with us yet again. Is that Thiago? I think it is Thiago's car. We got pit stops again for any of those medium runners, it looks like. Yeah. Oh, did Thiago go in the pits? No, he's retired on the exit of the pit lane. And the safety car will rejoin back again now. Do we see soft tyres for everybody at the end of this race? Of course, Neil has the most to lose from making the first decision to pit. If he pits now, he will drop down to, what, P4, P5? Probably P5. And Phantom could elect to live with the tyres that he finds himself on. Dom Rabico likewise. Or they can all brave it and stay on the mediums. Phantom has the obvious opportunity to do the opposite of whatever Neil does here, which you would feel is the likely course of action. We ride with Neil, who slows. He's staying out, and so is Phantom. Dom Rabico likewise. Obviously lots of people have recently pitted, but in comes Aimee in 5th place. Everybody else on new or newer tyres. So it's definitely going to be interesting watching Quentin and JR, as well as Aimee, wherever he comes out of the pits relative to these guys. I think Aimee's going to come out. Is he behind these two? How fast can Quentin go down this start-finish straight? Fast enough to get out in front of Aimee. Is it going to be close? It is going to be close. They make contact and sideswiped out of the race. Wow! Quentin will not take kindly to that. Not a good idea to smash into the owner of the league on a pit exit situation like that. Massive big deal for Quentin, and I'm sure he will have words. Wow, not what you want to see at all, as they're actually under safety car orders. I wonder, did Aimee get any kind of warning or penalty for that action? Because that was very questionable. Surely that was a penalty worthy situation. Let's check that one out. 5-second time penalty. It's a very small deal for having made contact there with Quentin and put him out of the race. Quentin gains nothing from Aimee's contact and penalty, but it's highly unfortunate. Of course, drivers are always going to put the foot down on the way out of the pits, always. But yeah, less than ideal. This will work out well for JR in 6th place on new tyres. He and Aimee. JR will presumably want to dispatch with Aimee pretty quickly so that he can get on board with the rest of the leaders before they stretch the gap too far. 5-lap sprint at the end of this race, maybe a 4-lap sprint depending on how Bernd Mailander is feeling tonight. We will, I think, go round for another lap. So I think, yeah, it will be a 4-lap sprint to the end of the race. And we just saw Quentin wiped out by Aimee as they came together. Aimee coming out of the pits, level with Quentin. Both drivers pushing for track position on that turn 3, and it all went wrong. So your new order, and by no means do I expect this to be the finishing order: Neil on 10-lap-old mediums, Phantom on 9-lap-old mediums, Don Rabico 9-lap-old softs from Duckster's 8-lap mediums, then fresh tyres on Aimee, who has 11 seconds of penalties accrued. JR, no penalties on fresh tyres, fresh soft tyres that is. Vino, your 7 drivers remaining out of 15 starters. Waiting to see if I get anything from Quentin, and hi to Bunties, who joins us fairly late in proceedings, you have to say, but I hope you're enjoying the race nonetheless. Hope you see the end of the race out with us. Make sure that you share the race on socials if you want to get any friends involved to finish off this, what will be a 4-lap sprint to the end, and a 4-lap sprint round, a 4-lap sprint with full ERS around the whole around a street circuit is a recipe for action and fireworks, you have to say. Yeah, boss saying he has no words. Yeah, it's it didn't look good, shall we say. It didn't look good at all. Aimee and Quentin coming together on pit exit, causing this 3rd safety car of the race. Donovan says, bad luck, Quentin. Yeah, certainly was. Quentin might not feel that luck came into it, but that's motor racing, unfortunately. Safety car will come in, and we will have our sprint on for us at the end here. So, Neil, Phantom, Don Rabico and Duckster defending from fresh tired Aimee Alonso, JR and Vino behind them on track. This is mouth-watering prospect as we see how Neil feels about releasing the throttle. I think he's already done it. I think they're on their way, and I think he's caught several drivers napping here. The gap's opening up, which is better than an incident or an accident any day of the week. But yeah, the restart very calm and collected from everybody. Perhaps drivers feeling a little bit nervous and wanting those big points tonight. JR just trying to get those soft tyres up to temperature. They won't need much through this first sector before they're wide awake and ready to go. Everybody a respectful distance away from each other. Perhaps not necessarily Aimee, who's a quarter of a second back from Duxter. Very different tyre situation here. Aimee wearing the Alonso-like helmet colour scheme, as you would expect. And just impatient to get a move on here. JR will do well to be patient, more patient, I was going to say patienter, behind Aimee after his action a few moments ago. I wonder what kind of a view Josh got of it. Here comes Aimee then. Closing, and we have a VSC once again. A VSC, is that for Vino, who has dropped back from the order considerably. I wonder, has he picked up some damage? Has he hit the wall? I don't see anything, but maybe there's debris on the circuit somewhere. So that neutralised the race slightly for a moment, just as Aimee looked like he was going to get very close to the driver in front. JR then with nothing to lose. You can see all his rivals up ahead of him, but there's only 3 to go now. How many drivers, how many corners can he afford to be patient? We still are under VSC, and this is really ruining our little sprint at the end. We go green though, we go green now. And Aimee very close, but up behind Duxter, who likewise is pretty close behind Dom Rabico. They still have no DRS. That will be for the final 2 laps of the race. Aimee not very protective of his own front wing at this point on the circuit, on the restart. What, that makes it our 4th restart of the race so far. Neil continues to lead from Phantom, who has not been able to get quite close enough to start challenging, but Aimee is quite the opposite, right up the gearbox of the Alpine of Duxter up ahead. JR similarly close, but as we saw earlier with Matra, it's quite easy to drive into someone else's accident, so we need to try and keep enough distance, enough margin for error. Here comes Aimee then. Will this be a move into the final corner or around the outside, depending on what space is given him? He wants that inside line, he really wants it badly, but it's no way through as JR closes right down under braking. He's going to be stuck in a DRS train, which he doesn't want. Neil is weaving up ahead at the front here. He doesn't need to weave just yet. And Duxter then and JR will go side by side with Dom Rabico and Aimee. Dom Rabico getting turn 2 all wrong. Aimee might come together with a driver in turn 3 once again, but Aimee gets past Dom Rabico, who's dropping backwards now. Duxter profiting from all of it. Dom Rabico really slow through here and costing JR considerable time. I wonder if he's got some damage on the car. So Duxter promoted to P3. Phantom 8/10 back from Neil, still can't get on terms. Aimee closing in and dives down the inside into turn 13. Aimee gets by into P3 then, but with loads of penalties to pay off. Duxter dropping back. Phantom is now 4/10 back from Neil, right up at the front of the grid. Let's focus on the leaders with 1.5 laps to go. JR half a second back from Duxter. He needs to make the moves now if he wants to get himself up onto that podium and on terms with Phantom and Neil. They might be too far out of reach at this late stage in the race, but Phantom closes in on Neil, and we saw the kind of tactics Phantom was willing to play earlier on in the race into that final corner. Very much learning from A1 Max Verstappen. Here comes Phantom then. Neil doesn't defend too hard. I think he'd rather be the chaser than the chased for this final lap. So Aimee P3 with loads of penalties. JR can't get past Duxter, who also has penalties. So JR playing the patient game, could well be on for a podium here in our 9th race of the season. JR only joining us 2 or 3 races ago, and right up there on the pace. But it's Phantom with the lead, half a second in front of Neil, who closes into turn 13. And now it's all about whether you can make use of that final run down to the final corner. And I can see some games about to be played as we come towards the very end of this race. What a race we've had on our hands. really special one here at SAF1 Esports. A 9th race of the 4th season. Phantom, while Matrav is away, Phantom and Neil will definitely play. Neil gets a great run out of that tricky turn. DRS will be enabled for Neil. He goes the long way around the outside. How far ahead can he go for the lead here? Takes the lead on just before the final corner. Does Neil? Has Phantom held on to anything to finish off this race? It looks like, I think Neil's going to get it. Neil crosses the line in first. Phantom 1/10 behind. It looks like JR on track has got 3rd place as well, as Duxter is demoted into 4th place. We've got Don Rabico crosses the line in 5th in a track he was dreading. And what a show-stopping finale we had for you there in the race order. Brilliant stuff as the drivers finish off the race for us. That closes us off then. Looks like Dom Rabico was it with the with the driver of the day performance. But hats off to Neil and Phantom for giving us a tremendous battle out there. Brilliant stuff. Neil is very happy with that podium, and Phantom takes the 2nd place despite his best efforts. JR, a dogged and determined race and evening of track action for JR, who comes in 3rd place, and he's very pleased with himself as well. Stay tuned on the SAF1 channel. We will try and get our drivers into a party chat, especially Neil, Phantom and JR if we can. But that is your finishing order. Neil with the fastest lap as well, so maximum points from this race. Congratulations to Neil for a brilliant performance out there. Phantom 2nd place by 1/10 of a second. Then we see JR in 3rd place, Duxter in 4th. Good strong performance from the Alpine driver. Then Don Rabico, I think he got driver of the day from Anthony Davidson at least, in 5th place from 12th on the grid. Aimee brings the car home in 6th. Whether he gets additional penalties or disqualifications or quali bans or whatever remains to be seen after the action that took Quintin out of the race. If our drivers are watching, I will try and start up a comms box party now, and then taking you through the DNFs. Quintin, Tiago, Zardi, Shumi, Matrav, our championship leader, scoring nothing out of tonight. Then Zander and Hamrick, who got about a lap in total combined out of his entire evening at the Jeddah circuit. So yeah, Quintin asks which party I'll be doing it on the PlayStation, Quintin. And thank you very much for enabling that one. And there we go, he's started this up. So we'll be there with the interviews very quickly on this channel. So bear with me and I'll try and get hold of our drivers. So hopefully we're going to get JR, Phantom and Neil, if at all possible. Donovan says that Josh got the driver of the day officially. Well, thanks for that. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye as I was checking on everything else that was coming out at once. So I'll just hang on a moment or two to see if Neil turns up, but otherwise we will go to Phantom in a second. Just make sure, guys, joining us in the press box, if you're joining us right now, just double check that your party audio setting is set to share. Otherwise it will just be a conversation between those of us in the party, and the stream will not hear. Neil joins us. Neil, that was drama from the very off of the race, but congratulations, what a win to win it on the final corner. Go ahead, Neil.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't think Phantom would have overtaken me in the last lap because it's better to be behind than the last lap.
Okay. Yep.
So I was a bit surprised, but yeah, had enough ERS and the DRS helped to overtake.
Fantastic stuff. That looked really nail-biting for you. How was it in the cockpit?
Yeah, one of my favorite tracks, so it was okay. It was a good battle with the Trev too. I think I may have bumped him on the third or fourth lap, somewhere there. But it was a good battle, nevertheless.
Yeah, you had race-long battles with different people, but how was it
Yeah,
fighting out there with Phantom?
yeah, it's fun. Quick guy. We always be on track together and like we're all fast, so yeah,
There was a little
same as always.
moment where he seemingly did a bit of a Verstappen where he slowed before the DRS detection and then seemingly kind of it looked like he didn't have a lot of space to brake for the final corner, and it was a little bit of negotiations who was going to get that DRS detection.
Yeah, yeah. It was the last lap, so I thought for the last lap he would have sat behind me for the last lap again because it's better to be behind. But then when he overtook me on the start-finish straight,
Yep.
as I said, I'll stay behind him until the last DRS detection point.
It worked well. How was the strategy management, and how did the
Yeah,
tires
no,
hold up
tires
today?
were good. Tires were good. My setup is mainly for the race, so always at the pace. And I think I had a bit more downforce than Phantom because through the turns, I noticed I could close up, but he was quicker on the straights than me. So
Yeah.
I had much more tire life at the end.
But you were strong all evening, I think, in terms of being at the top of the standings throughout the night. The night seemingly belonged to you. Especially if Madtrav had that issue, he had spectacular double right-hand side puncture following what was claimed on the stream, and I think you just indicated some contact, but he just could
Yeah,
not get that
because
car to the back round to the pit lane.
yeah, because I think it was on turn two. I was on the outside against the wall, and if you look at that wall, it comes out. So if I stayed
Yeah,
on a straight track, I would have taken out my wing. So I had to drift over slightly to the right-hand side
right.
to just beat that curve. So it wasn't like intentionally I was pushing him, I was just trying to avoid the wall a bit.
So we're blaming what track designer for that one.
Yeah, definitely for that one.
Congratulations, Neil. I think
Thanks again.
overall a very, very well-deserved win out there. Phantom,
Thank
can
you.
we come to you now?
Yes, sir.
Phantom, talk us through your race. That looked like it was really hard work out there.
Not really. It was just mostly avoiding the walls because that's this track. And I actually never get one warning, which I'm surprised
Yeah,
of. Because in practice I just got like 12 seconds of warnings. But yeah, um, it was an okay race. Well
yeah,
done to Neil. Unlucky for Trav though, and Diego.
yeah. It
He's
was
long
important for you though
completion
to
on
take
that.
big points with Madtrav missing. How much pressure did that put on you?
Not a lot. Like I said the last time, I already missed the race due to no fault of my own, so I'm already out of the title battle, but I'm gonna still show up, keep going, and yeah, podium's more than good enough for me.
Very good, very good. And how was quali for you? Did you manage to get everything tonight?
Nope, definitely not. I invalidated on my last lap, which would have put me fourth, I think. But yeah, it's only one plate up, so
Wow.
didn't have the quali pace there, but yeah, race pace was there and strategy, so worked out in the end.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. It was great watching you and Neil battle throughout the race. Obviously, we saw a lot of dicing going on as to who got the DRS, but do you think you'd do the same thing again and want to be the man in front on the last lap, or would you maybe revisit that idea next time out?
Yeah, I was just not really paying attention to that. I just wanted to race. I don't play strategy games or any of that stuff, so yeah.
Okay,
Just gotta
well,
have fun, enjoy it.
well, a second place hopefully was fun enough for you tonight, and yeah, hopefully more podiums to come for the rest of the season. Congratulations on your second place. And
Yeah.
Josh, a difficult night, and you've managed to rescue a podium out of it. That was pretty good.
Difficult night. Yeah, sums it up. It's like that response in career mode, like I'm an idiot magnet as I fell out on track, pretty much. I mean, I couldn't help, obviously, the puncture. That was to no one's fault. It's just crap luck.
Yep.
I had, is it Vino in the Alpine? He overtook me under safety car, so I was like, Christ. what have I got to do here? And then it was just loads of malarkey just put on me. I got wind damage off the back of Quinton. I don't think it was his fault. I think someone was ahead of him. Having a bit of a mess around on an apex, just parking it up. And it was strugglesome. I'm gutted because I think I could have definitely won that without a doubt. Because the way I was catching even on old softs at the end throughout the entire race, I was setting the fastest laps prior to Trav going out, of course. But yeah, it was a struggle. But my God, it's a beautiful track to drive around, even if you're on your own. It's so flowing if you're on the wheel. I don't know what it's like on pad per se, but very fun to drive.
I imagine it's a bit frantic on pad.
Yeah, it's a lot of quick change of direction. So
yeah,
I know a lot of them will be struggling. So if anyone here is on pad, then well done to you, because it's definitely a bit more of a struggle around this track than a wheel.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Well you've got a new biggest fan. Simps is loving your work, and there's definitely a teammate bromance bubbling between the two of you out there.
Gotta get there somehow. But yeah, it was glad with the P3, but definitely thinking of other outcomes, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the restart you were in the best position, but just stuck behind everyone on DRS. Did you get a good view of what happened between Amy and Quentin? Do you have an opinion on that?
What happened? All I saw was Quentin in a wall, and I said, "What on earth is he doing?" I thought he spun off on his own in the safety car.
No, yeah, it was under the safety car. Amy came out of the pits, and they just came together on the pit exit. Amy was slightly ahead, but yeah, that just pitched Quentin around and took him out.
It's a hard one to go against either of them in that case, because it's a place where everyone wants to push their hardest. They know that it's not under racing regulations. You can get that little bit more advantage, but yeah, I'll have to watch it first before I put a proper opinion on it. But
I thought maybe you had a better seat than any of us just behind the incident, but obviously
I'll be honest, I clipped it. I think because I had a report for a few laps earlier.
Yeah.
And I think my quote was, "What on earth is he doing?" I thought he just spun off on his own at the safety car. I was like, really? Especially Quinton, because I've had a good few battles with him. I was looking forward to it. But
I presume you keep it really clean on all of your clips as well, so there won't be any bad language issues going on.
Christ, good luck with that.
But the sock held up tonight as well. You had good grip on the pedals tonight.
Yep. It was on orange one this week, green one last week.
Oh, okay, so you'll have to work out which is the lucky one.
Well, definitely fucking orange, I'll tell you that. I'll go past the green next week.
Well, good stuff. It was a lot of fun watching that race, even though we only had 6 humans finish the race overall. But really, really good. And thanks for sticking with it, because I know it must have been tempting after the qualifying issues not to take part. But you stuck with it, and you got a podium in the end.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Cheers for your time.
Good stuff. Well, thanks to everybody for watching with us. Thanks, of course, to our sponsors and to the drivers who came by to give us their wisdom at the end of the race. And make sure you've subscribed to the channel, like the video, and tune in next week for round 10 of the championship. This has been Webbo, your commentator, and I will catch you on the next race day.